previous format.
Yes. And Christina's build here, much more of a classic take on Obs on aggro, not doing too much here with a fourth color. In fact, it is just the straight 3.
We've seen varying builds of Obs on aggro. You know, we saw Todd and Brad and some players from the Roanoke area with a blue splash. We've seen some black splashes, some red splashes in there for cracking the doom. So players have been all over the place with how to build the deck.
Yeah, Christina also playing with Night of the White Orchid alongside some of the new Battlelands. So
okay.
that combination of cards in here. But this is a much lower to the ground version of the deck compared to what Todd Anderson and BBD and Brad Nelson played this weekend.
Carpenter currently up a game with an Unmegamorph Dent Protector. Looks like that's going to come in. We'll see where it is attacking. It's going to attack Gideon, so it's going to fall down to 1. Obzon Charm Utter End in Carpenter's hand as we head back Smith's way. Quite a few cards in the battlefield here for Christina, and quite a few cards in hand as well. A couple copies of Jamoka's Command, a Wingmate Rock, which is typically a mirror breaker. We've seen that card be very good in Obzon mirrors. And there is an Utter End before attacks, it appears. A very expensive way to take care of an ally token.
And I wonder if Carpenter somehow knows about the Wingmate Rock in hand, because this has been a fairly odd set of turns, unless he was trying to beat that card specifically.
Well, there is Wingmate Rock. No extra creature coming along with it, but it's better than nothing. Carpenter going to sacrifice a Windswept Teeth. We'll see what land he wants to search up. One of the lands that Bradley has in play, Scoured Barrens. The white-black game land.
How many copies of... Okay, so he does have 4 copies of Shambling Vent. That was what I was looking for first.
Okay. A little surprised to see that out there.
To me, that land seems below the line, given what people are doing with their mana bases this weekend and how reliable people's mana have looked with just basics, battle lands, and fetch lands. Feels below the line.
Might be time for an Obzon Charm here for Carpenter. He's going to take care of the Wingmate Rock. And now Dent Protector is going to take care of Gideon. What's the follow-up here for Bradley? That's actually a really good turn. Jeez.
Yeah, this is a great turn. If Carpenter is concerned about a rated Wingmate Rock, at least in this scenario, Bradley can play Nissa, flip Nissa over to a Planeswalker, and make a 4/4. So if Christina does want to rate a Wingmate Rock, it comes at the expense of the Knight. However, if he is out of forests, which appears to be the case.
Yep. Only 3. I suppose the question is, does he have a land in his hand? He does. I think it's the 3rd forest, actually.
Okay.
Yep, okay, that's going to flip Nissa. Now the question is how to use Nissa. Making a 4/4 is attractive, but removal spell would kill the elemental token and then kill Nissa, so that's actually a pretty tough decision. Because Carpenter's out of cards right now.
Yeah. Though, like I said, I feel like Carpenter has been going through some hoops here to prevent Smith from raiding a Wingmate Rock. So if that was the line of play he was taking, then I think he has to make an elemental this turn. But as you mentioned, it's something as simple as a removal spell for the elemental. Suddenly this is down, and all he has is Dent Protector. I suppose Smith is at 9. She's only 3 hits away from getting killed by the Dent Protector, but with the number of cards that are in her hand, it's hard to imagine she can't cobble together some answers.
Yeah, quite a few copies of Jamoka's Command in hand. I believe the draw actually for the turn was Wingmate Rock. So now things really get interesting.
With Carpenter out of cards, I think it's fine for Smith to simply go, attack with my Knight, raid Wingmate Rock.
So let it go, get the 2/3/4s out there.
Carpenter has to draw pretty well, you know, especially with Jamoka's Command in Smith's hand, because in the following turn, she has a couple 3/4s. Even if Carpenter rips a removal spell, he's probably going to play it straight away so he can attack with his elemental. You untap, you have your Jamoka's Commands, suddenly you can fight down the elemental, you can take care of Nissa, and if you have an answer for the 3/2, life's pretty good. And this assumes Carpenter even draws 1 removal spell.
Yep.
If he doesn't draw well off of his draw step in Nissa, Smith is firmly in the lead.
Well, there's Wingmate Rock and the token. Smith trying to make a comeback here. Up goes Nissa. Take a look. Ultimate price.
So that's not the card that Smith wanted to see, but as we mentioned before, this is not the end of the world.
Yep. In for 4. And I think if you're Carpenter, you're probably supposed to price now, though I guess it does get a little interesting if you wait, because this makes it so that Smith has to send both creatures over to Nissa. There's a little bit of a trade-off here, I suppose.
Well, the other side of that is Smith's very low, and allowing her to gain even 1 life off of Wingmate Rock's rage attack trigger is a swing.
Yep.
So it's not totally free.
Perhaps there is no rush to cast this ultimate price. Perhaps there is. We'll see how Carpenter wants to play it. And what happens with Smith on this turn?
Well, what Smith can do here, to start things off here, she's got 2 copies of Dromoka's command in hand. She knows she's playing against a removal spell. She can go. She can attack. This is fine. I was going to suggest possibly that she could go use Dromoka's command to fight my token against her elemental. That's probably good enough to use the ultimate price. You can then attack Nissa with your Wingmate Rock, gain a life for your troubles, and use your Dromoka's command to finish off the elemental. So at that point, you're at least keeping the 3/4.
There's an Offensa.
Now with Anafensa, I think this line of play that Smith takes is better than the one I suggested, because Bradley's hand right now is forced to cast a removal spell if he can.
I believe Ruinous Path may have been the draw here for Carpenter. It's getting kind of interesting now. He does have 2 copies of Ultimate Price in his main deck this weekend, does Carpenter. 4 copies of Ruinous Path in the main deck, too.
And knowing about Ultimate Price as the removal spell, Smith may fire off this Dromoka's command at the end of the turn using Anafensa to fight something, because Carpenter had to draw on something specific to prevent this from going bad.
And it's not going to go bad. It's actually going to go quite well. Dromoka's command, +1/+1 counter, and fight.
You can see the Nissa in Carpenter's hand. He can't really deploy that until he draws a land. We know he's out of forest, so he's not just going to play Nissa as a 2/2 and say go.
There's Ultimate Price. What comes next? The beatdowns. Put a counter over there on the rock.
And I like Smith doing this before doing anything with the Dromoka's command, because this attack should be good enough to draw a removal spell out of Carpenter if he's holding one.
Yep, which he was. There's another copy of Ultimate Price.
Very good discipline there by Smith.
Yep. So there's a hit for 5. Is there a follow-up here for Smith? Is it maybe a Rhino? A Gideon, okay. Ally token. Pass the turn back. Den Protector can slide by that. And I believe a land was the draw, so now we're going to see Nissa. Nothing to search for here. Yeah, I'm fresh out. Yeah, there's a Plains. Flip over Nissa. Curious if we're making an elemental or if we're going up.
And this is very good news for Smith, because her hand's probably good enough to beat the board. Also, she's had to have some trepidation in a couple spots here because she has not been totally sure about the contents of Carpenter's hand. She is now working with perfect information, can be very aggressive, going after Carpenter's remaining resources.
Carpenter going to attack. And I like this attack a lot. Get in the range of Siege Rhino. But depending on how Smith uses her resources here, she should be able to win the game this turn. Gideon can fire up into a 5/5. And offense is a 5/5, that's 10. Looks like 2 more from the ally. Shambling Vent, you know, you work Dromoka's command in the equation. think this one should be good.
It's lethal on board, and on top of that, Smith can simply fire up the Shambling Vent, put a counter on that, use it to fight the Den Protector, and push herself out of Siege Rhino range. So there's the kill on board, and even if that's not discovered, then there is ways for her to gain some life and prevent Siege Rhino from being an out.
Gideon's going to go up to 5. Now here comes Dramoka's command. Put a +1/+1 counter on the ally. Gideon's going to fight the Den Protector. Always good to have an indestructible creature fighting. And now here come the beatdowns. And that's going to be lethal right now, assuming we ignore Nissa. Keep in mind, with Bradley's lands, he is playing Scoured Barrens and not Shambling Vents.
Well, he has 4 Shambling Vents.
He does.
He hasn't cut Shambling Vent. I still feel Scoured Barrens is below an acceptable line.
Asking, would you like to attack Nissa? Would you like to maybe give me another draw step? And it's all going to go to Carpenter, and we're going to get ready here for a 3rd game. So Christina Smith's going to tie things up here against Bradley Carpenter. Abzan control and Abzan aggro. Getting ready for a 3rd one.
Time is an issue here.
Yes, it is.
About to be under 10 minutes.
And these Abzan matchups, they drag. They're not too fast. Though, you know, you take a look at Smith's deck list, 4 copies of Wingmate Rock, I think she's got a pretty good advantage here. That card's insane in this matchup.
It's very, very good. I mean, post-board, there's so many ways for players to trade off cards that Wingmate Rock showing up sometimes will eat 2 removal spells or just a sweeper. You know, it sort of trades now with Ruinous Path if the game goes on long enough, but still certainly a powerful card in the matchup.
Well, these players are going to shuffle up, I think, rather quickly here for game number 3. So Bradley Carpenter will be on the play, and we'll talk very quickly about the IQ circuit here at Star City Games, our invitational qualifiers, where you can win a bunch of different stuff and keep your head above water in the Player of the Year race.
Yeah, you can scale this experience up in a number of ways. If you're just looking for some more local organized play, these are cash tournaments you can bring to your store if you're trying to qualify for the invitational, or to supplement the quest to get to the Players' Championship alongside opens and invitationals. You can do that as well. Comes with invitational qualifications naturally, alongside playmats, top 8 pins, invitational tokens, and SCG premium vouchers.
StarCityGames.com/invitational qualifiers for more information about that as we get ready here for game number 3 of round 14. One of our last rounds of Swiss coverage here. We know already one player in the top 8 there, and Jerry Thompson. Looked like he drew with Michael actually, he played Michael Majors already in this. So can't imagine that they got paired and drew, but we know that Jerry's in. Majors looks to be a lock as well, 2nd place coming in the round at 11 and 2. So 2 players in, got 6 to figure out.
And it's not necessarily doom and gloom for these 2 players if there's a draw.
No, not at all.
We're on the light side here in day 2. 90 some odd players, a little over 400 in the main event. So X3 and 1 could be good. Will depend on tiebreakers and all that kind of stuff. But normally in spots like this, a draw is doom and gloom for the 2 players, and that's not the situation we're in right now.
Not at all. Abzan. Can't be surprised that that deck's still popular here this weekend.
Well, you know, we know it works. The players know it works. The exact build, aggro or control, what mixture of removals and threats you're supposed to have, that remains to be seen. But
it's just a safe place to go.
Close enough to right.
You know? Now, there are a lot of places to go. You know, Jeskai and Mardu. Maybe someone will figure out the right team or build this season. But it always has just felt like a very safe place to do battles with Siege Rhino and Anafenzas, Santep Citadels in the bunch, and it's still good. I'm not surprised. I don't know if it'll ever stop being good.
I think Abzan Charm and Siege Rhino are going to be in the format for as long as that set's legal. The other cards, I think those are going to be pretty fluid.
Looks like Carpenter's going to take a mulligan. See if Christina likes her opening hand.
This is quite the long tank if she's not keeping.
Yeah. I think looks content. And now we can see Carpenter use that brand new Vancouver mulligan rule. Gotta get that extra cut in.
Yeah, you just got to make sure. You know what I appreciate about Bradley Carpenter?
What's that?
No pile
shuffle, yeah.
No pile shuffle.
Yep. Time for a little Vancouver mulligan. I'm gonna leave on top of the scry. You're on a real crusade against pile shuffling.
I am.
I like it. You gotta draw the line somewhere.
We only have so much time.
In this match, we've got about 7 minutes, 30 seconds left. It's the only resource that we know is
finite.
Finite, yeah.
It's the only one.
I don't want to steal your thunder. That's your thing.
A lot of players in the building, a lot of people watching. Only so much time to waste.
Nissa here from Carpenter, going to search up a forest.
There's one legacy tournament we covered once where someone pile shuffled after a ponder.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was ready to stop the event.
Yeah, you were not too pleased.
Somebody stop that man.
A plains and an Anafenza here for Smith. Carpenter will draw. Lands not appear to be a problem here for Bradley. There's the forest that he searched for with Nissa. And now we're heading back Smith's way. Shambling Vent. And self-inflicted wound. That Nissa will be gone for good, thanks to Anafenza. Now Anafenza going to attempt to come across. We might see Utter End here, potentially.
Yep. I mean, Carpenter had the option between Siege Rhino and Utter End this turn, so if he didn't cast the Siege Rhino, he was definitely casting a removal spell.
Over to Carpenter. Obzon Charm the draw. There's Shambling Vent. Here comes a Rhino. You'll get a trigger here. A little drain, a little gain. We'll have back Christina Smith's way in just a moment here. Smith will draw. And there's a Plains. Just being informed now that Michael Majors did win his match this round, so he moves on to 12-2. Lock it up.
Yep.
He's in.
If there was any doubt before.
Yep. Green-white Megamorph in the top 8, along with 5-color Bring to Light. Here's a Siege Rhino there for Christina Smith. I believe Carpenter's draw for the turn was Ruinous Path. And that's going to fire away and take down the Siege Rhino. Siege Rhino going to come across. And we head back Christina's way. Can she ever find a way to get a Wingmate Rock rated? We know that's very, very hard for Obzon Control to beat.
Or just cast 2 spells in one turn.
Yeah.
That to me feels critical right now. If Smith can set up a line where she kills the Rhino and does something else productive, then she pulls ahead. And for me, the Obzon matchup is a lot about card advantage, but it can also be about the first person who's getting to play 2 spells a turn.
Well, there's a Morph. I'm just going to pass the turn back. Carpenter will draw. Looks like another copy of Languish. Here comes the Rhino. Smith will fall to 12. Could see Carpenter play Den Protector face down here.
It's the best use of his mana. I don't think he wants to spend his turn using a removal spell on a face down Den Protector, so I don't see anything else for him to do.
Oh, there's Den Protector. It'll be morphed. Pass the turn back. Both players with a morph on the battlefield. Den Protector will be unmegamorphed here by Christina Smith. It'll get a counter, and Siege Rhino's coming back to the grip. She will untap. She does have a creature to attack with, so perhaps Wingmate Rock is on the way, and she does have one in hand. So,
Wingmate Rock does leave her a bit vulnerable to Languish, but she does have a lot of cards in hand to rebuild with. So she may run that risk right now.
Den Protector going to unmegamorph.
And if Carpenter's doing this with the intent on blocking, then I think it becomes very easy for Smith to raid the Wingmate Rock, because it's just a one-for-one trade. It's not really that bad, and it's likely to be Carpenter's entire turn.
Well, you can't stop the rock. We'll bring a token along with it. Giddy in the draw.
It's funny to watch this game, too, with both players on 5 lands, and both of them really struggling to have enough mana to operate with. They could really use more and more lands. Another place where Courser or Crewfix would be nice, especially for Carpenter's deck.
Siege Rhino coming across. There's Languish to clean it up. And since Bradley has one to spare, this one does make some sense.
Yeah, the big thing now is just Smith needs to find an answer for that Siege Rhino. Because right now, it feels like the last couple of turns have been, all right, self-inflicted one, perfect. The last couple of turns have been just her trying to fend off Carpenter.
Yeah.
This is the turn that she needed.
That's a 2 spells, 1 turn they were looking for. Self-inflicted wound takes care of the Rhino, and now she takes initiative back with an Anafenza. Behind a life total, but ahead on the board right now is Christina Smith. There's Canopy Vista.
Though a slight sequencing misstep there from Smith, as she would have been better served playing Anafenza first.
Sure. Siege Rhino is in the graveyard now.
And with her at 8, it may be the juiciest target for a Den Protector from Carpenter's side.
Ruinous Path takes care of Anafenza. There's Warden of the First Tree. And a Siege Rhino.
Another very good turn.
Yep. 2 spells, 1 turn, the goal. That's when Abzan feels very hard to beat. Carpenter with Abzan Charm in hand. I'm sure he'd like to draw some cards, but he might need to kill Siege Rhino. He will kill Siege Rhino. Didn't get a great look at Carpenter's draw there. It might be the Greenwood of Marasa.
Yeah.
Yeah, take a look at that. It's kind of bad news, Christina. It's a pretty powerful card in this matchup.
And I think that this may even, in a matchup like this, which is just going to go on for a really long time and stuff is just bouncing off of each other, this card may be better than even Wingmate Rock.
Yeah.
Because this is just guaranteed to work.
Yep.
Whereas Smith needs to be in a position where she's attacking, Languish can beat her, you know. This card is just going to work.
Well, it looks like that's time of the round. It's going to be turn number 1. That'll be Christina Smith. Shambling Vent the land. I don't know if they're going to have time to finish. Not a lot of turns left here for either player.
Yeah, 2 attacks is going to be hard for Carpenter to be able to finish the game in. Especially with Smith also having a Shambling Vent, she's got access to gain 2, maybe 4 life, depending on how her attacks and blocks exactly work. But I think Smith cannot win the game. She is just playing for a draw now.
Oh, very, I mean, classic Abzan.
Yep.
There's nothing fast about it. Especially Abzan control versus Abzan aggro. Both players quite a few cards in hand. It's a morph. Likely to be Den Protector, of course. Turn number 2. Can Carpenter actually find a way?
Well, he did draw a Nissa this turn, which is not bad, as he now has a line of play where he can play Nissa and Gideon and flip Nissa and make a 4/4 in the same turn. That's I don't know if that's good enough to win the game, but his deck can't put on more pressure than that for 7 mana. That's as good as it's going to get.
Well, here's step 1. Attack with the Greenwood of Marasa. Gonna take 5. Fall down to 6.
I think that's a very dangerous no block there from Smith. I think that she's... you don't know exactly if Carpenter's going to be able to chain together multiple removal spells in one turn. That might be your best opportunity to chump block. There's no guarantee you get it back. And it's not like Carpenter is going to play a larger non-trampling threat than the Green Warden. So that seems like a really good spot to chump.
This is going to search up a forest, which means it's going to flip. Assuming no removal spell, of course. And that also means that you mentioned Gideon could be coming too. Gideon makes a token, Nissa makes an elemental, and all of a sudden...
You're threatening either a 5/5 or an emblem next turn, depending on how things look. Like I said, I don't know if it's enough, but Carpenter's not doing more than that.
Now it's trying to figure out how to use the Nissa, which I think because we're in damage racing territory, drawing a card doesn't do very much.
Yeah, and a 4/4's, I mean, it's very good on the board. He's trying to go large and he's trying to go wide, so.
There's your elemental token. Here comes Gideon. That'll make an ally. Pretty healthy board here for Carpenter. That's all he can do with all the mana he has. Now, keep in mind one thing here, too. Ruinous Path adds a real interesting wrinkle to the equation as well. If Carpenter is able to find another land, because then he can awaken, and the creature would have the ability to attack as well.
Yep.
With land number 8. So there's a lot to like here if you're Carpenter. Might be able to steal this one. Self-inflicted wound going to be returned here by Smith.
And I like getting back self-inflicted wound. What this sets Smith up to do, she can self-inflicted wound, and then she has enough mana left over to animate and chump block with Shambling Vents. That's because none of Carpenter's threats trample. It doesn't matter what she chump blocks as long as you can just chump block something. So a removal spell and the ability to chump block with Shambling Vent is the best way for her to preserve her life total.
Well, here's self-inflicted wound. Now, what gets kind of a little interesting here is there a reason for me to sacrifice maybe the Greenwood of Marasa to get something back in the graveyard?
Well, there is a Siege Rhino down there. And again, Smith, there's nothing in play with Trample. Smith gets to block the 2 largest creatures or 3 largest creatures no matter what. So Siege Rhino might be more valuable here.
Well, that's what Carpenter's going to go get. And now, Gideon. So 3 blockers. Carpenter. He'll draw. That's a swamp. That might be what he needed. And he's got a pretty big smile. I think that might just be what the doctor ordered.
Yeah, Rhino.
He's going to be able to cast Languish.
He can animate Gideon.
Yep. Everything dies. Make Gideon into a 5/5 attack, finish off the round. I think there's a couple different ways he could have got it done that turn, but that's going to be it exactly on his last turn. Bradley Carpenter's going to win this match over Christina Smith. 2-1. Obzon Control is going to take care of Obzon Aggro, and for Carpenter, he is still in top 8 contention, moves on to 11-3.
Very, very tight game there. Very well sequenced there from Carpenter. I think Smith there on that last turn is better served just chump blocking with Shambling Vents than doing anything with Gideon for 2 reasons. One is she gains 2 life if the Shambling Vent gets committed to a block.